Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate. We are back with another episode of Shadows Over Mordheim, our weekly series of Mordheim battle reports. And this is battle report number 8. It is a chance encounter scenario that is fought between my two friends Iron Major and Fresh Prince Bel-Air. Iron Major is bringing the Bugman Brewing Company, a Dwarf Treasure Hunters warband, while Fresh Prince Bel-Air is bringing the Shades of Nagarthye, a Shadow Warriors warband. So both of my friends will be throwing it down in a chance encounter scenario. If you want to see exactly what they're taking for each of their warbands, go and pause and take a look at your leisure. So with that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought, or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Power pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so let's go talk about the scenario rules for this one. The scenario is chance encounter. Pretty much the deployment is that players deploy on different corners of the battlefield on this one. And when the objective is that each warband carries D3 Weirdstone shards, and for each hero that is taken out of action from the opposing warband, they lose one of those Weirdstone shards that goes to their opponent as well. And basically the objective is to be the last warband standing and try to capture as many Weirdstones from the enemy as possible. For experience, +1 experience points for each hero and henchman who manages to survive the scenario. Also, the winning warband leader also earns another experience point, and plus heroes also earn another experience point for each enemy they take out of action as well. So with that being said, with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about the battle plan real quick. Alright, so here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, both Iron Major as well as my friend Fresh Prince Bel-Air are playing on a 4x4 table. Iron Major is deployed on the top left-hand corner of the battlefield, while the bottom right-hand battlefield corner of the battlefield is dedicated to my other friend, Fresh Prince Bel-Air. What their battle plan on this one is, I'm really not sure what it is so far because I'm just the arbitrator in this one, so all I'm doing is just taking photographs for the battle reports. You really have to ask my friends what their battle plan is. But from what I'm seeing, it looks like the plan is that they're occupying that tower as well as those ruins and that little ruined gatehouse over the Slime River, and their plan is just kind of hold the ground and play defensively, I'm assuming. And that pretty much makes the battle plan portion of this over with. So with the battle plan over with, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so starting off with the Shades of Nagarthye over here on the top of the second floor of the little boathouse or gatehouse for the Slime River there. We have two Shadow Warriors. Left hand side is Ramael, the Silent Strider, and next to him is Tora, the Shadow Strider. Both those guys are equipped with shields, longbows, as well as swords. So that makes up their deployment. And down below on the ground level, leading the little four-man fire team up the front, that's Raziel. He's a Shadow Master. He's equipped with light armor, shield, longbow. He's got a great weapon as well as a leader skill. Right behind him is Duma, the Shadow Weaver. He's got a longbow sword, as he's also got the spell Shield of Shadow. And then the left and right are Castiel and Samael, which are two Shadow Warrior novices. They're equipped with shields as well as spears. And that pretty much makes up his deployment here in the center. And then finally, at the top of the tower, on the far right-hand side of the battlefield, we have Rahab as well as Micaiah. They're both Shadow Walkers. Both of them are equipped exactly the same way with shield, longbows, as well as swords. And that pretty much makes the deployment for the Shades of Nagarthye. So with that being said, we can jump across the table for the Dwarf Treasure Hunters. Alright, so over here on the left-hand side for the Bugman Brewing Company, up in the front is Snowy Nosebiter. He's a Troll Slayer. He has a good twin Dwarf Axes. He's got the Death Wish as well as the Slayer skills special rules. And then right behind him is one of the brothers, Roadsulker, which is one of the beardlings for the warband. He's equipped with Dwarf Axe as well as a shield. And that pretty much makes up his left-hand deployment. Alright, on the top of there, the little tower there, we got 3 more dwarves. The guys in yellow, those are the brothers Izmir. There are 2 thunders equipped with crossbow as well as an axe. And you also have the brother Helheim, who's basically a thunder who's also equipped with a crossbow and an axe as well. And then right behind him is Grim Burlickson. He's a dwarf engineer. He's got an axe, handgun, brace of pistols. He's also got the pistolier, expert weaponsmith special rules as well. And then finally on the right hand side on the base of that tower, we have 3 more dwarves. In the back is Joseph Bugman. He's a dwarf noble. He's got a dwarf axe, light armor, and shield, as well as a leader special ability. And then right next to him are 2 more members of the Brothers Roadsulker, which are beardlings who are armed with axes as well as shields. Dwarf axes as well as shields. And that pretty much makes a deployment for the Bugman Brewing Company. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both Iron Major as well as Fresh Prince Bel-Air roll off for initiative to see who goes first. Alright, so that takes directly to turn number 1 for the Dwarf Treasure Hunters on this one. My friend Iron Major managed to get the initiative on this one, and this photo is taken after the movement phase, and as you can imagine, none of the dwarves move, because why would they? That's what they do best. From Iron Major, posed pretty much all of his dwarf shooters who have weapons that can shoot. The weapons are either move or shoot, so that means he has to move and not be able to shoot them, or stand completely still, so that way he can't shoot them. So it makes sense that most of his armor just kind of stays exactly where they're at. His infantry forces, of course, on either side of the tower are also safe where they're at there as well. They got nice cover protecting them from any long-range shots, so because of that, the dwarves just stay exactly where they're located at. So with the move phase over with, you go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, the Bugman Brewing Company brought the pain. First of all, the brothers Izmir, the two dwarf quarrelers, were armed with crossbows. They open up directly onto the two novices, Shadow Warriors, who are on top of the building there. Ramael and Torel, as both of them the Silent Striders, managed to hit both those guys as well. Luckily for my friend Freshman's Bullet, though, they only ended with a stun result because they're both laying down face up, because they both got hit, and also got wounded, but they managed to ignore that injury for the most part. So they'll be able to stand up again during the next activation for their recovery phase as well. Luckily for my friend Freshman's Bullet, both those guys also pass initiative checks so they don't fall off the roof of the building, and they're completely fine. However, on the right-hand side, though, on the tower where the other two Shadow Walkers are located at, Duma Rahab, does not work out too well for them at all. In fact, Grim Burluxon, as well as one of the brothers, Helheim, Grim Burluxon decides to use his weaponsmith ability so that way they get an additional range to their crossbows, and they open up directly onto those both guys. Manage to hit both those guys and manage to wound them as well. Not only did they manage to wound them, but actually both of those dwarves rolled 6s to wound, earning critical hits. I believe, what's his name? I believe Grim Burluxon managed to get a 6 on hit roll for his critical hit, so because of that he also gets 2 damage, as well as add 2 to the injury dice. I believe the other one was just a 4 or a 5, which is also just 2 additional wounds on that as well. So because of that, when the injury dice were rolled for these guys, they rolled 6s, so because of that, both of them go directly out of action, and they will need to roll up on the serious injury table to see exactly what happens to them. So things are not looking very good right now for the Shadow Warriors on the opening turn of this battle report. So with the shooting phase over with, we skip combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat, and we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the High Elves. Alright, so we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Shadow Warriors on this one, and luckily for my friend Freshman's Belair, when he rolled for his route test during the recovery phase, he passed no problem as well. Also, both Ramael as well as Tora, the Silent Striders, they both managed to get back on their feet again, because the only thing that happened to them is they were knocked down is all it was. So they get back on their feet again as well. For the move phase, Ramael, Duma, as well as Castiel and Samael, they just basically run forward as quick as they can, moving up 10 inches along the base of the Slime River, taking cover along the edge of the Slime River so that way they don't get shot at from long distance fire for the most part. At the same time, Ramael and Tora, they just kind of stay their locations so that way they can provide some covering fire during the shooting phase. And that pretty much makes up the movement phase on this one. So here's a close-up of Ramael as well as Tora, both of them standing their ground so that way they could do some long-range shooting during the recovery phase and getting back on their feet again. And here's a close-up of Raziel as well as Duma as well as Cassiel and Samael getting ready to assault across the Slime River by getting to the dead space of that Slime River so that way they don't get shot at as well. And that pretty much makes the move phase on this one. So the move phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And unfortunately for my friend Freshman's Belair, his 2 shooters, Ramael and Tora, actually missed their shots, so nothing much really happened during that part, during the shooting phase. However, Duma, the Shadow Weaver, he did cast Shield of Shadows. He managed to get that spell off pretty good. Managed to give himself a 5 ward save until his next turn to make sure he doesn't get shot at, because he is slightly exposed to dwarf fire, so, that's the best thing he can do in order to protect himself for the most part. And that pretty much makes it the High Elves' turn for turn number 1. There is no close combat, so because of that, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Dwarf Treasure Hunters. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Dwarf Treasure Hunters. We skip the recovery phase because none of the dwarves are in trouble, and we go directly to the move phase. And as you can see in this photo, not much movement really took on from most of the dwarves. The only real thing that really took place is that Snoring Nosebiter, as well as one of the members of the Brothers Roadstalker, they actually slipped around behind the tower in order to link up with the rest of the fighters, with Joseph Bugman and the rest of his crew as well. Pretty much Grim Burluxon, as well as his shooters, they're still on the top of the tower. Not really much going anywhere because, doesn't behoove them to do so. And that pretty much makes up the move phase for the most part. So here's a close-up of all the Dwarf Warriors. As you can see, Snoring Nosebiter, as well as one of the Brothers Roadstalkers, are linking up with the rest of the clan Roadstalker, as well as Joseph Bugman. Meanwhile, his shooters are staying right there at the top, not doing much of anything. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And once again, disaster strikes for the Shadow Warriors of the Sons of Shades of Nagarthye on this one. Grim Burlickson, the engineer, managed to open fire with his dwarf crossbow, going directly into Duma, the Shadow Weaver, managed to hit him center of mass with another critical shot, which is also rolled a perfect 6 on that one as well. Now Duma, of course, tries to use his 5 ward save that's given for him by the Shield of Shadow. Unfortunately, he rolls a 1 for that, so because of that, he doesn't manage to get that ward save at all. He also fails, he doesn't have an armor save because he's a wizard, so because of that, he gets hit with 2 wounding with strike from a crossbow, plus his +2 for the d6 roll to see what happens to him for his injuries. Rolled a 5 on that one, so because of that, Duma also goes out of action, and he will need to roll up on the series injury table to see exactly what happens to him. Meanwhile, the rest of Clan Helheim as well as Clan Izmir opened up once again on Ramael as well as Tora. As you can see in this photo, Ramael actually gets knocked out, actually getting hit by the result from one of the crossbows, so he goes crashing face down to the ground. He is currently bleeding out as well. Luckily for Ramael, though, First Prince Belair did pass his initiative tick, so nothing much really happened to him. However, when it came to Tora, things did not go according to plan. So Tora gets hit by a crossbow, actually gets wounded as well with a stun result, so no harm, no foul there. However, when it came for his initiative test, though, he rolled a 1, so because that he does fail his initiative test, he goes flying off the roof of that little gatehouse and goes crashing the ground, earning D3 Strength 7 hits. In this case, he got 2 Strength 7 hits, and those 2 hits were the ones that put him directly out of action as well. So because of that, Tora will need to roll off a D6 to see if he manages to survive or not with the end of the battle report. And so with the shooting phase over for the dwarves, there is no close combat phase, and we go directly to recovery phase for the High Elves. And unfortunately for the Shades of Nagarthye, my friend Fresh Prince Belair has to take a route test to see if he flees. He rolls 2d6, he goes to 6 and 4, giving a grand total of 10, which is 1 point higher than his leadership. And so just like that, the Shades of Nagarthye have been routed, and the Shadow Warriors have been defeated by the Dwarf Treasure Hunters. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That takes us directly to the end of the game, but the Dwarf Treasure Hunters managed to steal the win on this one with some superior long-range shooting. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the post-game because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, so we go directly to the post-game for the Shades of Nagarthye. For their team, they've actually suffered 3 serious injuries. Duma, Rahab, as well as Makaya. Tora of the Stallion Striders, he made a full recovery, no problem, so that headshot was perfectly fine. Duma actually suffers a madness injury, and for his result, he actually got Frenzy on that one. So because of that, that wizard now has the Frenzy special rule, which is actually kind of interesting. Rahab also suffered the Hardened injury as well, so because of that, he is completely immune to fear, while Makaya actually made a full recovery, so he is doing perfectly fine. For advancements, quite a few members of this warband actually promoted upwards. So Duma, he met the leader, the Shadow Weaver, actually got +1 to his attacks. So now that guy's a 3 attack Shadow Weaver, which is actually kind of scary. So beware that wizard because he will chop you up as well. Rahab, the Shadow Walker, he also got +1 to his strength, so now he's strength 4, which is pretty cool. And Melchiah, the Shadow Walker, also learned the sniper rule, so makes him really deadly when it comes to long range shooting as well. For Ramael, the Silent Strider, he also leveled up as well because he's a henchman. He got +1 to his strength, so he's now strength 4. Tora didn't level up though, even though he's part of the same group of henchmen because he was recruited later on. Castiel as well as Samael, though, both those guys got +1 to their attack, so they also level up to it as well because they're also henchmen as well. For the exploration, unfortunately for them though, they're only able to find 1 piece of weird stone, which they were able to sell for 50 gold pieces. With those 50 gold pieces, they managed to purchase a Warhorn of Nagarthye for Duma, so that way they could also use that special weapon in their future battle reports for them. And they took the 20 remaining pieces of gold pieces that they had left and put it directly into their treasury. The new record now is at 0 wins as well as 2 losses, and their new rating now is at 109 points. So with that, we go directly to the Bugman Brewing Company, the winners of this battle report. For injuries, none of the members of the Dwarf Treasure Hunter warband was actually injured, so they're perfectly fine. For advancements, 3 members of this warband did advance. Joseph Bugman, he leveled up, learning the weapon expert skill for shooting of all things. Because of that, he'll be able to use whatever range weapon he finds on the battlefield. Same thing with Grim Burlickson, he actually learned the Hunter special ability as well, so because he has that skill, makes him even deadlier shooter at long range. And the Snorri Mosebiter, he also learned the Master of Blade skill for his Dwarf Slayer skill when he managed to get that one when he actually leveled up as well. So things are looking very good for these guys in terms of close combat and long range shooting. For the exploration phase, they actually managed to find 3 shards of weird stones. They actually captured all 3 from the Shades of Nagarthye. They also managed to find 2 shards of wade stone from exploring themselves, granting them a grand total of 97 gold pieces. Also during their exploration, they also found an overturned cart. They also carried 7 gold pieces on it. giving them the additional 7 gold pieces they needed. With their 97 gold pieces, they purchased a crossbow for Joseph Bugman, so now he can do long-range shooting as well. They also hired a brand new dwarf clansman who was armed with a dwarf axe as well as a shield, and they called that little group of henchmen Bugman's Rangers. And then they took the remaining 12 gold pieces that they had left over and they put it directly into their treasury. The new Raker now is at 1 win and 1 loss, and the new warband rating now is at 98 points. So that's going to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.